All right. My name is Lennon Vera. My presentation today is on the new Meraki cloud managed access points. You could actually apply, they give you a free access point to IT professionals when you register and watch one of their webinars. The access point they give you is a simple indoor MK12, which is their base model, so that you can, evaluate their access point and their software. They give you free 3-year licensing on it. It's a pretty good deal as long as you can meet their qualifications, and it's an interesting little project or product. I'll get logged in real quick and show you the dashboard on it. When you first get logged into it, you go into the dashboard application, which is basically their webpage that allows you to see what the access point's doing, configure it, make any changes, see what's going on with the clients attached to it. This one was set up as a test. The nice thing about it is you can actually place your access point on a map so that you know where it is, especially if you have a multi-site location. You can manage all of your devices and see where they are. It's nice because it gives you the ability to zoom in and out on your map, so you can go as far out as the country you're in. And it'll show you where you're at globally, or you can go all the way down to where it's actually located at. In this case, we've got it placed inside of Wayland just for our test, and it shows it. That represents upstairs in the lab for Kilgore's class. The nice thing about this is really that if you don't know command line and you're trying to learn how to manage a network, this is a really easy transition into setting up and configuring your access points. They also offer it for their switches and security devices. But essentially, if we dig down a little more at it, the access points will show you what access points are connected to your dashboard. In this case, we only have the one right now. The name of it is the MAC address for now. We've got connectivity. That'll show you when it's up, when it's down. It'll also show you what type of connection you're using it for. In this instance, I've got it set up as a gateway providing access. You can run these in a bridge mode, so that they simply run as a bridge to an existing network as well. The clients list will show you exactly who's connected to your access point. Right now, I don't believe anybody is. But if there were, it would tell you their computer name or their MAC address and show you what operating system they're running, how much bandwidth they're using based on their connection. This will show you graphs explaining how much, the same thing, essentially how much bandwidth is being used across the time. You've got your daily breakdown. It'll also show you a breakdown of what applications are using your bandwidth the most. If you set it up in this dashboard, essentially you can say Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari. It'll look for all of these application IDs that you set up, and it'll show you a nice little pie graph saying this is how much is being used by what program. Yeah, it actually, you can set it up for that.
So if you log into your access point at home and got a teenager, you can see 75% BitTorrent.
Yep. And the nice thing is you can limit bandwidth on it. So essentially, obviously, this is more of a business or like a school system, university, enterprise system. But essentially, it gives you the access to limit things like that at home if you were to actually spend the money for this for your home network. The traffic analysis or analytics will give you a breakdown of what kind of traffic is on it. Obviously, I haven't put anything across it just yet. It'll also do packet capture. Meraki kind of builds in a lot of, auditing tools, you could call it. It takes a lot of the information similar to some of the data you can get through programs like Wireshark and things like that, and kind of incorporates them into this cloud-based management system. The nice thing about it is your event log will show you any events that occur on the network. In this case, it looks like it's got a device I hooked up to it when we first set it up for testing, and that was my phone. So it gives the client ID and it shows what my client ID is. It tells what kind of connection I made, and it's 802.11. I did the WPA authentication to it. Right now it's set up at a different place, and it's showing the channel scans, looking for what's there. If you click on the client, for example, from the other day, it'll tell you a little bit more as far as how it drills down. It gives you your MAC address, the IP address that it gave out as DHCP from this device. It'll actually allow you to do DHCP from your access point, or you can turn that off and allow it to do DHCP from your server that you have assigned for it. You can see here they do a run packet capture on this client, so you can run those tools directly here versus having to do it from a different screen under monitor. The Air Marshal is kind of neat. This is something similar to if you're trying to do an audit of your system. It'll tell you what other access points are on the same network as your access point here. In this case, where I've got it hooked up, there is a wireless router, and it's got both of the access points that I broadcast, the SSIDs.
And has a Google Maps of where you're at.
Yes. Now, in addition to the two on the same network, which it would consider rogue unless you list them otherwise, it also shows the other SSIDs being broadcast in the range of where it's at. And you can see the different ones there that will show up. It'll tell you how many are actually out there. So it's picking up 4 SSIDs that aren't having the name broadcast. The apartments where that's at has 7, which the apartments provide Wi-Fi internet to their residents. So they have 7 access points on their network that it's detecting. And I'm sure a couple of these are some of the bums that live around me. The presence heat map, because I don't have any data on it, I'm really not sure how much detail it goes into as far as what it's detecting. I'm assuming that's how much use it's seeing from the other devices around it, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't researched that too much just
That's
yet.
almost creepy though.
We'll take a heater, put it up there and see if that affects it.
Yeah, go stick a lighter next to it. The summary report really is just that. It gives you a brief breakdown of the different usages based on the access points. You can see what the usage is based on the SSID you're broadcasting, your clients. Also, it tells you the models. And again, this one's the Meraki 12, which is their base model. So far, it's just got the one access point with that model number. And then it's got the usage details. And this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, where it'll tell you how much Facebook's using. So where I hooked my phone up to the other day, you've got a little bit of usage from Facebook, Google's HTTPS. I've got Windows email on my phone for work and school, a little bit of miscellaneous web, my Dropbox, Amazon, normal Google, Yahoo, and all that. So it really shows you a lot of the stuff that's on it, and it'll even break down the operating systems that are connected. So in this case, the only one that was connected so far was my Android phone. So Android is the #1 OS, both on here and in mobile devices across the world.
Okay.
Was that like a plug?
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah, are you getting paid for some of this?
No, but maybe Eska will if there's enough hits on this. The PCI compliance report, this is really for if you have PCI standards set in your business that you need to comply, and it's a scan basically you can run. It's built in for their DSS 2.0. A lot of companies that deal with credit card processing or financial transactions on their network have to meet PCI compliance regulations, so it's got a tool built in for that. If you actually get down into the configurations of the device, you can set up your SSIDs. What's nice is for this thing being their base model, it will actually support 16 SSIDs that it can broadcast simultaneously. So I've got just the one set up right now. We had 2 set up the other day. You essentially just enable or disenable it from here. And and you save your changes, and it'll allow you to manage everything from this point. It does tell you you can wait 1 to 2 minutes for changes to take effect. Mines have happened a little bit quicker than that. I'm assuming it's just based on your connection speed, both where you're managing from and the network that the device is hooked up to. When you get into the access control for your APs, it'll tell you which SSID you're managing. It lets you know, in this case, if you've got both, or if you have multiple networks you're managing, which one you're managing or which business you're managing. It'll let you determine what network you're on. It also lets you manage it by the SSID. So if I wanted to go in here and only make changes for a specific SSID, I could do that just off the drop down instead of having to go into a switch and command line, backing out of one config into the configuration for another interface or VLAN that way. It really is designed to be just point and click. From there, your association requirements, which is basically how you connect to it, you're able to determine if you just want it open, anybody can detect it like an open access point. A lot of times you'll see that like at McDonald's, they have free Wi-Fi and all you got to do is go to a splash, or they'll not make you do anything at all. It just depends. It allows you for your key to be WEP or WPA2 on this base model. You enter your key over here and you're able to show your key or hide your key. It also allows you to do MAC-based access control. If you have a radius server on your network, you can program it so that this will verify the MAC addresses of who's accessing your network. And then it's got the WPA2 Enterprise, and this one allows you to manage your radius server, or Meraki will have the authentication built into it. I'm not sure how to set that up, but I think that would be interesting because you're managing it through the cloud and now your authentication is through the cloud. So if you don't have internet access, you possibly lose the ability to authenticate your users to your service. So that's something to consider when you're setting it up. As far as a splash page, it's also set up so that if you want a splash page when they join your network, like if you've ever gone to a Motel 6 and they give you free Wi-Fi, you have to agree to their terms and conditions, and this allows you to set that up. It makes it so it's a click-through, or if they actually have to have a sign-on, and again, the sign-on will do the Meraki authentication, or you can do it on your own server. You can even set it up where they're beta testing a sign-on with an SMS authentication. So essentially, you've got a splash page, you put your name and your mobile phone number in it, and it'll text them an access code. You get to set up how long they have access for, and then they'll need to either reconnect or resubmit for an access code. Also, because this is in beta testing, they have another account that manages, I guess, their SMS service. The other option, especially for a motel, is if they want to pay for specific access more than what you're giving them for free, they can have a billing page set up so that they pay for that themselves. And then you have the Systems Manager Sentry, which is beta, and I don't know what that is. So look it up. Google's fun. Firewall and traffic shaping will allow you to go in and, based on your SSID, once again, it lets you set up layer 3 firewall rules, layer 7 firewall rules. You can shape your traffic on your devices either per client, which means whichever client is hooked up, you can essentially throttle their connection speed through a couple of different settings here, or you can throttle the connection speed through your SSID. So if you have your business network that you always want to make sure that your employees can access and they have unlimited bandwidth, then you can set that. If you have a guest network and maybe you only want them to be able to get, their emails still to come through, you can cut it down to as low as 50 kilobytes per second and let them manage without sucking up your bandwidth. For the users on this, it'll actually let you define your users so that you can set up who has access to what. Essentially, you want to, I don't have it set up so that it's turned on right now, but you would pick your SSID and you would say who's able to log in and manage it, who can actually access your dashboard and manage any or all of the access points. Your splash page, again, goes back into the design of the splash page if you choose to set one up. It'll let you do a couple of generic color choices. It has a couple official themes. You can set up your own custom theme to upload. You can also do a custom splash URL. So if you've got your splash screen already built, then you can just have it direct to wherever that is instead of having it managed through the cloud project. In addition to that, you can do your own page from here and just type in your message or your logo and upload all that information here. The SSID availability is going to be just setting up what you have. If you want to secure your network based on what times you're open and then have your Wi-Fi shut off when you're not doing business, either to save energy or make sure your network's not being accessed when you're not there, you can actually set it up so that Wi-Fi will only run from a certain time in the morning to a certain time at night. And you can say whether it's available or unavailable at all. So if you set it to unavailable, it's going to tell you what times that the service isn't there. And that'll allow you to manage, if you've got access points that don't need to be on in certain parts of your business, you can turn those off and only have them on during certain hours, depending if you've got multiple shifts of employees and whatnot there.
Security thing too.
It seems kind of nice.
Does it have an option anywhere though where it waits till all users are off? Say you want to wait till it's idle and then shut down?
That I don't know.
That would
So I mean, if
probably-
you have it set to turn off at 5 and somebody's connected,
The boss will probably always be there late and want it. I mean,
right. I don't know if it'll actually kick everybody off who's logged on or if it will wait until there's nobody connected. That'd be something to test out, and I should try that now that you mentioned that. That's a good idea. The network-wide settings, this will let you do some of the traffic analysis. It also sets up the Twilio account for the SMS beta that they're running for the text message authentication for sign-ons, and lets you set up administrators for your dashboard. Group policies, it's kind of like not quite as intricate as a Windows server, but it'll let you set up your security groups essentially on your access points, and you can name them, decide which SSID they're going to use and how much bandwidth they'll have on it, whether you use the visibility for the host name of the access point, and whether it manages your firewall and traffic shaping on your network. The radio settings will allow you to go in and make changes to what frequencies, I guess the channels that are broadcast on. It'll show you which access points are on what channels currently, so this one's automatically set to 1. The transmit power is set to auto, and then it'll actually break it down by dBms for you to transmit on. And that has to do with how many neighbors are seeing, if it's interfering with any of your neighbors, and all that good stuff. And you can break it down from 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or both. The maps and the floor plans, this is really nice, and I like this feature because if you're into diagramming where your network is and setting things up, you can actually go into this and it'll let you add a map. And basically, if you've got a PDF of the floor plan of your business, or wherever it is you have your access points, you upload it, and then you can put the little marker for your access point specifically on the floor plan, and it'll basically show you exactly where all your access points are in the business. If you're using switches, you can place your switches all in the same spot if they're in a rack, and it really gives you a visual aid to, if you have a problem and an access point has an alert on it through your dashboard, you can go to your maps and floor plans and say, oh, okay, this is in plant 2 in the server room, or this is the outside access point on the northwest corner of the building. So it's really nice to have that feature in there, and that's not something you have unless you're using third-party software and managing it yourself through conventional means. The add devices, this is if you have more access points, you just get your serial number off the device and you can enter it here. Once you claim it, then it shows up as another access point or device in your dashboard, and that's the same thing as your switches or your security appliances that they offer through their service. For the organization, there's really just some different things you can go through. as far as settings, your administrators, the licensing info. It lets you do an inventory, and the inventory it's kind of nice in showing you exactly what you have, the MAC addresses, the serial numbers, what you've named the network, what model number it is. It also lets you show when the device was attached. If you want to enter an order number, you can essentially track your inventory of your products through Cisco Meraki. And that way, if you have a problem or you need to reference where your equipment is or what equipment you have, it's all nice and simple in one sheet. They've also got some regular help supports, cases where you can get help or new features that are coming in the future. So it's a really friendly GUI interface, essentially, to manage your network without having to know in detail too much of the command line features. It's no substitution for knowing your command line. If you're going to manage a network, you should know your way around it just to be safe, because while this is nice and convenient, there's also a price to it. It's not cheap by any means. The licensing is a certain amount, the equipment is a certain amount, and it's all based on the equipment you get. So the fancier your equipment, the more the cost goes up. So while it's really nice and it's easy for someone who has limited or is learning how to manage a network, it's definitely going to make you pay for that ease of use. But that's essentially it. Any questions? Yeah.
On the MCUs thing, at any time, can you ensure that Meraki's not able to access all that information that you're able to access to them?
In looking through the information that they put on their website, the information that this dashboard gathers from your devices is essentially here for you. They double encrypt it. They say, they don't use it for any of their purposes, but if they can present it to you, it's somewhere on their service. So whether or not they use that or they make that easy to gather.
So this is potentially as dangerous as Windows backdoors. I mean, and there's a lot more information in this service.
I think it'd be worse.
There can be.
It's the whole cloud,
Yeah.
cloud design. It's one of these
Right.
big
I mean, there absolutely can be. And part of,
Because they're bound to have backdoors for their management, right?
yeah. I mean, they've got, I think they said it's something like so many kilobytes of your bandwidth is what they use to upload this information. And that's part of where it gets into your changes can take a minute or two, is because what you're doing here is obviously making the connection to where your equipment is. So there's a pathway that's always there. How secure that is, they say they use their own encryption, and then they use an additional regular 128-bit encryption. So I mean, encryption this, encryption that. It's only as secure as you make your system. But they do their best to try to get it for you. Obviously there's concerns nowadays where the government says to a company, well, we need this or we need that.
Yeah, I mean,
And if you're doing a cloud-based management, then, depending on what your agreement is with them or what information by law they have to release, your information is out there on the cloud if you choose to use this product. Again, it's... well, the background on Meraki was kind of interesting. It was basically a couple of people that decided that command line was really difficult to use, and they thought there was a way to make it easier, which you can see they've done a pretty good job. You can pretty much have your network set up with a couple of point and clicks. So the convenience is there. Their overall design was well thought out, and it seems to be well deployed. Obviously, from a security standpoint, you always have to be worried if you don't have the stuff physically around you, how well can you secure it. But Cisco thought it was a good enough project to bring it in-house, so they bought the company and they let them operate kind of as a separate entity, but under the Cisco name in addition to theirs, so that that Cisco's backing them.
Basically, let us put our logo next to your name.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Meraki was their own company, and Cisco pretty much bought them, but they said, people are understanding your product. Your product is what they've seen, so we want you to still use your name. But we're also going to have ours up there.
Do they know how long Meraki's actually been around?
I want to say it was since around 2006,
Okay.
possibly. maybe 2007. So it's a fairly recent company, and you know their thought process was really nice in consideration of there's some people that have difficulty with command line. So I mean it's again the factor that they're looking at is it makes it easy to use. It gives you a visual aid to having to do inventory or looking to support different products. You don't have to telnet into anything, or you don't have to do a secure shell into anything. Essentially, their webpage does it for you. You just have to make sure you have access to the internet.
What I would think would be a better answer would be have this kind of service set up, but require your client to run their own like Apache server to run it on.
Their whole management,
So that yes, you have all these tools available to you, but it's all internal.
Yeah.
That would be the way to do it.
I don't know if they've got something like that. I'm sure that.
It looks like it has the potential to become a great census tool.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
2013 census, right?
yeah.
There you go.
Interestingly enough, I mean, they've got, for a startup company, they've got some of the major, hotel chains out there that purchase this. They've got a lot of businesses that use this, which is where you get the PCI compliance. Obviously, there's a great deal of security with it if they're able to support PCI compliance, just because I know how stringent those laws and regulations are. And you can't do any financial transactions on your network without meeting very strict guidelines. So they've gone through and they've put a lot of work into it to meet those requirements. So I mean, it's about as secure as anything out there, and it really just depends on how secure you choose to make it, to avoid any issues on your end, besides something happening at Cisco or Meraki that causes security risk. But overall, it's not too bad. It's a fun little evaluation to do. Once I'm done doing the testing on this, I'm actually setting it up for one of the businesses I work for, and we're considering using it for another project. So it's
So you're
It's
going to
nice.
consider using it down the road when you get more.
yeah. I mean, we use it down at Rapti right now, and this one's going to go over to the bookstore when I'm done. I'm trying to get one for the Habitat for Humanity. So I mean, there's it from the standpoint that they don't have a dedicated person to run their network, but someone with some basic knowledge can manage their network. Obviously, if someone who knows just enough, they know just enough to get themselves in trouble, and this kind of gives you an easy way to go back in and correct that, because it's a couple points and clicks and you're back to normal. Whereas in a command line, if you don't have a configuration saved on that switch or that router, you could probably be in a lot more trouble than something as simple as this to set up. But again, most people that know command line also have their config saved. So
Then again, I'd be careful, because the presentation we saw in class, the lady that was presenting was kind of scary, because she would click on just about everything possible.
Yeah.
And almost could have brought that to its knees.
she could have, if she'd saved any of her changes, you never know what she could have done to that network. But yeah, initially as a business, you're probably not going to be doing demos to sell this product. So that's my presentation. Thank you.